Hello. Alright, it's been a long time since I left off what I originally began to post videos about, which was really the history of early humans. And then my goal was to move forward. So I stopped at about the fifth video, and then I moved on and moved forward into Egypt ahead of time to discuss some important topics that I was interested in. So I thought it would be a good idea to go back and to where I left off. So that's what I plan to do here in this video. And I'll try to keep it, within like 20 minutes so it's not too long. So leaving off where we left off prior to, I was talking about how humans lost their hair, skin color, and stuff like that. And now we're going to move into the Mediterranean, how it at one point in time it was actually dried up where humans can cross from Africa to Europe. So that's where we'll start off today. So we need to discuss the fact that early humans had the ability to cross out of Africa at the location of the split between Africa and Europe at the Strait of Gibraltar, and also at the Bab el Mandab region across the Red Sea to Yemen, the southwest tip of the Arabian Peninsula. So from Ethiopia to Yemen. Sea levels fluctuated due to climate change, which had occurred since at least about 6 million years ago. 6 million years ago was about the time of the split between human-like species and chimpanzees. At this time, humans have not moved out of Africa yet. But I just want to use this one example of the Mediterranean being a dry piece of land to illustrate this. From about 5.6 million years ago to about 5.3 million years ago, the Mediterranean became isolated and evaporated. At about 5.3 million years ago, a mountain range joined Europe and Africa at the Strait of Gibraltar. So if you don't know where the Strait of Gibraltar is, that's the tip of Spain, and across is Africa. Moreover, these few hundreds of thousands of years between 5.6 and 5.3, as the opening into the Mediterranean became blocked, the water began to dry up inside of it, leaving lakes in deeper areas and creating many opportunities for species from Africa and Europe to cross over to either side. This is only one example. There are certainly many more from this point forward in time. Much research has already been done on this topic by experts. According to some, during the last 2 million years, which is the time of Homo sapiens, the recurrent high latitude glaciations caused the sea level to fluctuate from between 120 meters lower to plus 10 meters higher relative to the present sea level. Fleming and the other authors of this research go on to say that during periods of low sea levels, hominids and anatomically modern humans could probably cross from Morocco to Spain, from Tunisia to Sicily, and from Djibouti and Eritrea to Yemen, and from Egypt into the Sinai. And that communities during this time from each opposite shores probably communicated with each other. As the glaciers pulled the water out of the oceans and locked it up into ice, many land areas were exposed. Submerged prehistoric settlements have been found dating from 3,500 to 500,000 years ago off the coasts of Europe, South Africa, the Middle East, USA, Canada, and Japan. And here's a picture of that, if you can see it. Oh, I didn't want to do that, but oh shoot. Okay, well, I don't know if you can see this picture very well. It's kind of small. But, so this is the Strait of Gibraltar is right here. And you see how it's kind of like blocked, and then a lot of it dried up, just leaving the deeper areas. So it looks like there's a lot of points you can cross over right here from Morocco to Spain, and then you got Tunisia up here in the corner, and then the island of Sicily. I think that's a nice picture. Okay. Alright. Again, the first known hominids have only been found in Africa so far up to this point in our research, and all the other fossils that have been found outside of Africa are of distinct species. The common relatives of humans are chimps and gorillas, better known as the great apes, and the common ancestors of us all have been determined to have existed about 6 to 5 million years ago. The earlier species, Sivapithecus and Ramapithecus, found outside of Africa and mentioned previously, are exclusively related to the orangutans and not humans. The orangutans were the first to split from the hominids before the great ape and the human split, which occurred between 8 to 5 million years ago. The ancestors of us all living today, and I say ancestors plural because there were more than one or two, and of the great apes are thought to have lived in open woodland or woodland savanna habitats in the tropics of Africa. They weighed an estimated 22 to 75 pounds each and climbed trees but lived on the ground. They moved mostly on all fours but could stand on their two rear legs. They were hairy with no tail, had a short face, wide eyes, and a flat turned up nose. They also had strong jaws and only existed for a brief time. About 4 million years ago is when humans were finally distinguishable from other apes. This is when they began to walk on two legs, their brain size had increased, and they did not have canine teeth. From this point on, only slight changes occurred. The common ancestors of humans and gray apes lived where chimps and gorillas still live today, and where the first distinct human fossils have been found. Below is a map showing fossil sites of the first hominids in East Africa of our ancestors. Notice the shift seen in the picture below compared to the picture before this, from the perceived origin of habitat being just south of the perceived origin of human habitat being just south of the equator and east of Lake Victoria, to the significant sites now found moving north just below and around Lake Turkana. This is by no means a small area. It is at least the size of an average U.S. state or two. So let's see if we can blow this picture up a little bit better so you can see it. So you see how originally it was more closer here to Lake Victoria, and they kind of moved a little bit more east, and then they shifted more north So these are all the earliest hominid sites. Up here in this, it's hard to see here, but up here in the top northeast corner is Lake Turkana, and you have several sites all around Lake Turkana. So then if we go up, like I was saying to the previous map, this one here, we can see how here's Lake Victoria, and they're all just east, kind of on a line where you're gonna find the earliest fossils are found. So this is really this Goldilocks zone of our early common ancestors before they started to spread up north around Lake Turkana. There's a couple little sites in Kenya, but only two. One here, Bulak, and one here, Samburu Hills. And then you have a couple up here in Uganda, but the majority are right here on the border of Kenya and Tanzania. Okay. So when we go into the next kind of change, we progress to sooner times. So now we're 4 million years. So 4 million year old footprints have been found at the site of Lyotolo in North Tanzania, which is this bottom site, the farthest south. And so you can see what you can see in the bottom corner of the rift area on the above map near Otova Gorge. So this is in the Rift Valley. I think most of these sites are in the Rift Valley. They were made up of two adults who were about 3 feet 2 inches to 4 feet tall, so a lot shorter than us today and smaller. So our ancestors were a lot smaller than us, and who weighed about 60 pounds each. Lucy was found at Hadar in the Afar region of Ethiopia, not shown on the above map. So that would be way up here in the corner near Djibouti of Ethiopia, is the Afar Triangle. And her fossils were dated to about 3.4 million years ago. She is an Australopithecus afarensis, or southern ape, of whom those like her dwelt in caves in southern Africa about 3 to 2 million years ago. There are 4 known Australopithecus species, all existing during the same period. The first and oldest Homo fossil was of Homo habilis, found at Olduvai Gorge in Tanzania and dated to about 2.5 million years ago. The species of Australopithecus found in eastern Africa are different from those found in southern Africa, distinguishing populations from each other. It is interesting because from the very onset, and which can be seen in these maps, there is a continuous southern and northern divide of ethnicities or species. First, north or south of the equator. Second, north in Kenya and south in Tanzania. And a far wandering population who moved to southern Africa. These are the first distinguishable migrations. The split of species in Afarensis, Boisei, and Homo in East Africa, while Africanus and Robustus were in southern Africa, and then Australopithecus from Homo in the main difference between them being that Homo had a greater brain size. This creates a probability of man evolving in East Africa of a 2-to-1 ratio. All these species existed from between 4 to 1 million years ago, Homo being the one still existing today from as far back as 2.5 million years ago. Our species of man and woman, with minor changes aside from increased intelligence, and has been around for 2.5 million years. Therefore, we would need to go all the way back to this very early time to be able to give an accurate and original description of our ancestors' beliefs or religion and way of life. If we can go in the past to observe them, of course this is very difficult to make accurate assumptions, mainly because written records did not exist to preserve their information in oral tradition, assuming there was some type of communication, but probably not, would be so old it couldn't be accurate. Alright, we'll stop there. Thank you for listening, and please stay tuned for the next video.